Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about the tops and bottoms of 2024. So in 2024, I had a lot of just okay books. I had a few really good books and a few not so great books. I have found that I am a bit more stingy with my 5 stars. I only rated about 4 books that were new reads and not rereads 5 stars this year. And I think that's partially because I didn't read as much for myself this year. And a lot of the books that I did read were library books. And when I pick out library books, I tend to just pick up anything that looks interesting. Whereas the books that I buy, I'm a little bit more picky with. Let's just go over the tops and bottoms, and we'll go over the ones that weren't the greatest first because, we'll get that stuff out of the way. And I don't have any of these as it is, so I will be putting up pictures on the screen right here. All right, so the very bottom book on my list that I read this year is a book called After the Fire by Will Hill. For some reason, this one sticks out a lot to me. Not really sure why. It might have been because it was kind of hard to get through. It was a little slow. This is kind of a cult story about a kid who grows up in a type of cult-like community and then how they're kind of like freed from it. It didn't really go the way I thought it was going to go, and it was slow and just kind of felt after I was done. So I rated this one 2.5 stars. The next few were all in the 3 to 3.5 star range. So these weren't bad books. They were just okay, but they were kind of the bottom ones of the 3-star range. So one of them was called Finding Balance by Katie Gardner. And this is an arc that I've had for years. It was one of the first arcs I ever received from NetGalley, and when I got it, I didn't realize it was book 2 of a series, which I don't know that it really matters or not. I didn't have a problem reading it, and it was a pretty fast read, but it wasn't like super memorable. Like, I can't really tell you what it was about, and I didn't read it that long ago. The characters seemed a lot younger to me than they really were. The next book is a book called The Last by Hannah Jameson. This is one that I had picked on my turn of choice book for a book club that I was in, and I was really into post-apocalyptic stories, and this one was kind of one of those type of stories, but it was just really disappointing. Like, it's about these characters that get stuck in a hotel when like something happens and like all the power goes out and like people are told to stay where they are, but then they find out that they were really just kind of like staying there for no reason, and that the rest of the world was kind of moving on while they thought like the world was ending, and it really wasn't. It was also very slow and just wasn't a very good ending. And I just, even though I rated it 3 stars, it was fine. Looking back now, I didn't really enjoy it. The next one is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This author gets touted a lot. People really love her books, but I just really did not like. I don't even know. I say that now, but like I rated it 3 stars at the time. And I think this one was also kind of a fast read, and it wasn't that the premise was not interesting, but I just really did not care for the characters and the way that they behaved. They were still acting like they were in college and like partying and stuff, but like they're supposed to be adults at a wedding party, getting ready for a wedding, and they just didn't really seem like it. Plus, they were being like really mean to each other when they're supposed to be like really good friends, and just, I didn't like it. And I haven't really cared to pick up another Lucy Foley book since. Let's see, there is one more that is on my list called The Lake House by Sarah Beth Durst. This is another one that just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. This one, I believe, kind of flipped back and forth between a now timeline and a past timeline. There's some mystery, but like nothing really happened. I don't remember much more, but I remember not liking it. So I'm kind of surprised it got a 3-star rating from me. Anyways, those are the ones that weren't the greatest. So now let's talk about the ones that were really great for me. All right, so I have 6 books to talk about in addition to Harry Potter. I rated about 7 books 5 stars, and 3 of those were rereads and were Harry Potter. So I'm not really going to talk about those. Those are just an all-time, all-around favorite, always will be. The other 6 that I'm going to talk about are 4.5 and 5 stars. So there was 2 4.5 that I really enjoyed. The first one being Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I really loved this more than I thought I was going to. This is about a girl who goes back to the lake where her family used to summer and then runs into one of the boys she used to hang around with and I guess had like a little fling with one summer, but then they never really went back because things changed within their families and such. And so they meet up again in the future when they're adults. I just really love this. I really hope I enjoy the rest of Carly Fortune's books because I love this a lot. I rated it 4.5 stars. The other 4.5 star was The Premonition at Wither's Farm by Jamie Jo Wright. I know this is kind of like a complete opposite of the last book, but this is a Christian mystery. And this one takes place in dual timeline with this specific farmhouse and the history behind it and the family that lived there. It was very good. It was very atmospheric. My first Jamie Jo Wright, and I will definitely be reading more of her books. The next couple, I did rate 5 stars, but I do not own them because they were library books. So the first one was an audiobook, and that was The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. And this was my very first Frida McFadden book. I really enjoyed it. I don't listen to audiobooks all that much, but I'm finding that I really do like to listen to thrillers on audio, and I prefer not to read them from my shelves because after you read them, you already kind of know what's going to happen, and yeah, like I'm not going to reread them. So I would rather just listen to them and not own them. I get the popcorn thriller terminology now. I can get through one of these in like one day. And I love that because it's easy to just pop in there and get it done. And they're interesting. Best books I've ever read, maybe not, but still, this being my first one, it was really, really good for me. And I rated it 5 stars. I've read a few more of hers and they weren't quite as good. I'm definitely on the McFadden hype train. Anyways, the next book is a book called Give Me a Sign by Anna Sortino. And this isn't one I've heard much about at all. It is a YA romance kind of story. It's about a girl who is hard of hearing, but she's in a family who doesn't have any other type of hearing loss, and so they don't understand the deaf community, and they're trying to not use sign language. They want her to talk, they want her to use hearing aids, and they want her to get cochlear implants, which, if you don't know, if someone can't hear very well, they're partially deaf, and they go to get cochlear implants, it will ruin any residual hearing that they do have. And so without the cochlears, they will not be able to hear. So anyways, the family is trying to get her to do that, and she's unsure of if she wants to have cochlears or not. So she ends up working a summer camp for kids who are deaf. And what really got me on this book is that the summer camp specifically for kids with hearing loss in Illinois, which is where I grew up. And I was actually a camp counselor at a summer camp for deaf and hard of hearing kids, as well as visually impaired kids. And I was like, I worked at this camp. Anyways, that was just like really funny. I feel like they did a really good job with this story and portraying the true feeling of working with deaf people. And so it's about this girl. She goes to this camp and she kind of is put into this world where it's accepted to use sign language. It's the deaf world versus the hearing world. And she decides that she really does fit well in there. possibly more than the hearing world, but at the same time, she can't just leave her hearing world family behind. So she's in this struggle. I have a best friend in high school. We grew up together that was deaf, and so I just could really feel that. The next book that I read that I just really enjoyed is If You Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. This is one that I borrowed the audio from my library and listened to it on a road trip. And I loved this so much, and I had to go buy the book. I have the second book as well. I haven't read that one yet. I really want to, but I just can't bring myself to do it. It is a little bit heartbreaking. It's just about a girl growing up with a best friend, and then, you know, they kind of start falling for each other. It's their story, and I won't say any more than that. But I loved it. It was just really good. 5 stars. And the last book that I have to show you is probably my top book of the entire year, and that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I read this book like way back in January, and nothing has topped it since. So that might be another reason why all of my books this year haven't been easily 5 stars, because everything got compared to this. And this is about a woman who works at a small aquarium, and in the aquarium there's an octopus, and it's just about their relationship, and you get viewpoints from her, you get viewpoints from the octopus, and I think you get some viewpoints of other characters as well. And I love this so much. This is one of my top favorite books of all time now, and I love it so much. 5 stars. I had to go get myself a copy, of course, and I will probably be rereading this in 2025. So yeah, those are all the books that I wanted to tell you about. Let me know in the comments down below what your top favorite book of 2024 is. I would love to hear, and thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.